G'day guys, and welcome to another video. This time we're having a look at our favourite campsites. We've travelled all over Western Australia, but even so, we've not been everywhere yet. This list can only cover the places we've actually been to ourselves and stayed for 3 nights or more. I'm sure there will be many other campsites that deserve to be on this list, but until we get there isn't much we can say about them. If you've been to some great campsites, why not tell us about them in the comments below? We decided to set some criteria before making this list, and because there are so many good campsites, we decided to split the list into 3 parts. Part 1 mostly lists sites where some kind of camping fee is charged. Part 2 will cover free campsites, and Part 3 will be exclusively about national park sites. The criteria for this list is as follows. Campsites must be accessible by 2-wheel drive, must allow dogs, must not be caravan parks, must not be overnight rest areas, and must allow a stay of at least 3 nights or more. Coming in at number 10 on this list is Starvation Boat Harbour. This campsite is located on the south coast, about 40 kilometres east of Hopetown. Access is via Springdale Road and Southern Ocean Road. Roads leading to the campsite are unsealed and can be pretty corrugated at times. But still, there's not much problem getting 2-wheel drive vehicles in. Like many campsites, it can be very crowded at peak times, but if you visit outside the more popular times of the year, it's usually quiet and peaceful. The older part of the campsite has some nice shady sites, and the bay is quite sheltered and can be a good place to wet a line. The campsite was expanded and a second toilet block added, but the new sites are rather stark and not really that attractive. There are some dedicated tent camping sites that overlook the bay. At one time, Herron Point was possibly our second favourite campsite in Western Australia. What changed? Well, it was discovered by hordes of people, and now it's almost impossible to enjoy the peace and quiet that once existed, especially during weekdays. When we first discovered Herron Point, there were no fees, no time limits, and plenty of crabs, mullet and prawns in the estuary. Things have certainly changed over the past 20 or so years, and as has happened elsewhere, too many people spelled the end of the best of times at this site. There are meant to be a maximum of 25 sites, but thanks to some of the caretakers ignoring this limit and cramming as many people into the site as they can fit, the place has become rather unpleasant on weekends and during other peak times. Normally, only 2 nights stay is allowed here, but on long weekends this increases to 4, so it just scrapes into our list. In our opinion, 2 nights is pathetic, especially outside peak times. The Shire may have upgraded facilities here, but in every other way they have contributed to the degradation of this once lovely campsite. Access to the campsite is via Forest Highway and Herron Point Road, and it's the easy access that's led to the massive increase in visitors. The road in is now sealed all the way. It's one of the closest campsites to Perth, but it's really dropped down the rankings of our favourite sites. Coming in at number 8 is Bush Bay and New Beach. I've got to admit that when I first camped at Bush Bay, I thought it was a flat, featureless, windy hellhole. It was only much later, when I had spent some considerable time there, that I fell in love with the site. Yes, it is still flat and featureless, and sometimes a very windy place indeed. But there are plenty of good things about the site as well. The main problem with the campsite now is the encroachment of the sea. At one time, the best camping spots just behind the mangroves used to flood only twice a year on the big spring tides. Now they flood every month, and things are gradually getting worse. The incredibly low tides that used to leave the sand flats dry are almost unheard of now. Where once the sea retreated so far that you could barely see it, now the water stays in close, and walking out onto the flats to chase crabs and collect oysters is almost a thing of the past. While I know there are still many people who doubt that the oceans are rising, I think if any of them had been camping at Bush Bay for the last 20 years or so, they would rapidly change their minds. Spring tides can now flood the entire campsite, including the road, and the normal monthly high tides make camping near the beach a very risky venture. New Beach is just a little south of Bush Bay, and although it's a separate campsite, the two are close enough to be considered in the same area. If it wasn't for the regular flooding, Bush Bay would rate much higher on our list. The Shire has also introduced camping fees without doing anything to really justify it. The facilities, or lack of facilities I should say, are the same now as they always were. Located about 33 kilometres south of Cleaverville, it's within easy reach of town, and collecting water and supplies is fairly easy. The road into the campsite can be very corrugated, but it's still passable by two-wheel drive vehicles as long as it hasn't rained. Heavy rain will immediately close access to the campsite. Sadly, Carnarvon Shire has gone from being one of the most friendly shires to campers to being one of the most obnoxious. Coming in at number 7 is Ellendale Pool. This is a very pretty campsite on the Grenouth River. It's a little to the northeast of the small town of Walkaway. Access is via the Nangetty to Walkaway Road and Ellendale Pool Road. There are good facilities at this campsite, including toilets, seats, shelters and barbecues. There is a camping area down by the pool and another large flat area a little further away on higher ground. The main feature of this campsite is a large pool at the base of a towering cliff wall. The time limit at this campsite is 3 nights, so it just makes it onto our list. One thing you need to know about if you camp by the water are the large flocks of corellas that call the area home. The noise they make has to be heard to be believed, and they do rather shatter the peace and quiet of the pool. At one time, there were some nice spots upstream of the main campsite, but for whatever reason, the Shire decided to close access to that area, and we think that's a bit of a shame. At number 6 is Mason Bay. Mason Bay is in the same area as Starvation Boat Harbour, but a little further east. Like Starvation Boat Harbour, this site has also been expanded, and the new sites are more exposed to the sun. This is a good thing for those with solar panels, but not much help to anyone looking for a bit of shade. Mason Bay rates higher than its near neighbour on our list because the front sites are right next to the beach and under some nice shady trees. The view across the bay is nothing short of spectacular, so the front sites are usually the ones in highest demand. Facilities at the site include toilets, a blackwater dump point, and a beach boat launching area. Again, access is via a sometimes corrugated unsealed road, but it's easily accessible by two-wheel drive. Now we get to number 5, which is Grimwade. Grimwade is a bush campsite located east of the small town of Kirrup. The Kirrup to Grimwade road is sealed, but quite steep in some places. Grimwade is an old timber settlement, but little remains today to show that a timber mill once operated here. Although this particular list is mostly about sites that charge camping fees, Grimwade is still a free site, and it made it onto this list simply because we ran out of space on the free list. There is a dam with crystal clear water here, but there aren't many sites close by. Please don't pollute the dam with things like washing water, soap or any other type of chemicals. There are many frogs living around the lake, and they're very susceptible to any kind of pollution. There are some good flat sites a short distance away, and for those who want to be a bit more adventurous and have a 4x4, there are tracks leading round to the far side of the dam. There are no facilities at this site, so you need to bring in everything with you and take your rubbish out when you leave. The areas close to the campsite are timber plantations, so if you're driving around the tracks, be aware that big timber trucks also use this area. Miller's Road is number 4 on our list, and it's on the way to Bremer Bay. Follow the Bremer Bay Road and watch out for the sign pointing right to Miller's Road. It's a large campsite next to the Beaufort Inlet. There's a long drop toilet, and it's possible to launch boats from the shore. Access to this campsite is via an unsealed road, which can be corrugated, but is generally in pretty good condition. The inlet can produce some nice big bream, but when the rains cause the sandbar to wash out, the water level in the inlet drops dramatically. There are still some old shacks at this campsite, but sadly the big old caretaker's residence burned down some years ago. A walk trail leads away from the campsite down along the cliffs to the sea. Although the weather can be a bit on the cold and wet side, visiting during wildflower season will give you another activity to pursue. Mosquitoes can be a bit of a problem at this site, so come prepared with plenty of repellent. March flies are also present during the warmer months. Campfires are prohibited here between November 1st and April 30th each year. There are times when the water in the inlet may not be suitable for swimming or other direct contact activities. Check for signs when you arrive. At number 3 is Ellendale Pool Reserve. This is one of the closest campsites to Perth, and as a result can be very popular. Most sites now need to be booked in advance, but there are still a couple like Nanga Mill that are on a first come, first served basis. Technically, this is a Department of Parks and Wildlife campsite, but since dogs are allowed here and there are so many different camping areas, it made its way onto this list instead of one dealing with just national park sites. Fire bans are in force from the 15th of December to the 31st of March. Bring your own wood outside of the fire ban season, and please remember that the Chuditch campsite does not allow campfires at any time of the year. Off-road unlicensed vehicles are prohibited in Ellendale Pool, but licensed four-wheel drive vehicles are welcome. The Captain Fawcett track is popular with four-wheel drive enthusiasts, and it stretches 40 kilometres from Dawn Creek Road to the Harvey Quindanning Road. The track is closed during winter. The Murray River flows through Ellendale Pool Reserve, so canoeing is one of the many popular activities. Water activities are not recommended during periods of high rainfall due to the stronger flow of the river. There are 9 different camping areas, so no matter what sort of camping you want to do, there will be something suitable for you here. Now we're getting near the top of our list, and at number 2 comes Tamala Station. We only visited Tamala quite recently, but it's one of the best camping areas we've ever been to. Located in the Shark Bay region, it's accessed via Useless Loop Road. Outside periods of high rainfall, the area is easy enough to access by two-wheel drive. The station tracks are corrugated, and in places there's some caprock sections, but most campsites are accessible without having to have a four-wheel drive vehicle. This is a stunningly beautiful area, but you do need to be fully self-sufficient. And coming in at the very top of our list is Cleaverville. This is without doubt our favourite campsite, not just in Western Australia, but in the whole country. Back in the days before the government stepped in and ruined long-term camping in the state, we used to regularly go up to Cleaverville to avoid the cold of the Perth winter. And it was possible to stay there for up to 3 months. If we add up all the time we stayed at this campsite, it would come to well over 2 years in total. Located just 30 kilometres east of Karratha, it's easy to do a weekly trip into town to pick up supplies and water. The camping areas are stretched along the coast, and there's plenty of room for everyone. And those with four-wheel drives have plenty of tracks to explore. We first went to Cleaverville when it was a free campsite, but these days fees are charged, and the Shire has done a good job improving facilities at the site. The major activity for us was fishing, and the fishing was very good. There are a series of reefs off the coast, and once you learn where to go, there's no way you'll have to go without fish for dinner. With a boat, you can also go out and explore Dixon Island. And there are also some creeks that are worth fishing and crabbing in. Cleaverville Creek can occasionally produce some nice mud crabs. Crabbing outside the mouth of the creek will often result in good catches of blue swimmers. Most of the people we met when we first went to Cleaverville have now passed on, or they're too old to go travelling anymore. The campsite retains some of the best times we have ever had camping, and for us it remains our own personal, sacred site. Well, that's it for part 1 of our favourite campsite series. Next time we'll have a look at our favourite free campsites around Western Australia. All the sites will still have the same basic criteria applied to their selection, so everyone will have a chance to get there and enjoy them. Thanks for watching, and if you like our video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, you might consider subscribing and clicking the bell icon so you'll get notified each time we put a new video up. We post videos every Saturday and sometimes on Wednesdays as well. Again, thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time we put up a video. Cheers.